does a forbearance affect the escrow officer? Why does it concern us or make us nervous when we have one in a transaction? In fact, what is a forbearance? This is today's timely topic, as we are seeing much of it as a sidebar caused by the pandemic. Let me answer the question of what it is first. When you are unable to keep up with your monthly mortgage payments and you work out a deal with your lender to temporarily lower them or even hold off on paying with the understanding that you will make up the non-payment in the future, that is forbearance. During 2020, forbearance shot up to about 10 million cases due to loss of jobs and income during the pandemic. Now, 1 year later, it has reduced to about 6% of total loans nationwide, which equates to an average of about 2.8 million homeowners. This means that many homeowners have found the ways and means to pay back through the year, or they have sold a home to pay the difference. But unfortunately, not all borrowers are provided with a clear understanding of what happens when they request a forbearance. They need to understand that although the lender has agreed not to foreclose on the property, the borrower still has responsibilities towards the loan. Forbearance is not forgiveness. It is also not a loan modification. But the good thing is, it is not a foreclosure either. A negotiated temporary reduction of the monthly payment amount is not a modification, nor does it mean that it will continue forever. A time period is part of the negotiation. It certainly does not mean that the difference will be wiped out or forgiven. Amounts that were not paid will have to be paid at some point in time as negotiated. Perhaps a borrower will need to refinance if they have sufficient income and equity to qualify, or worst comes to worst, they may have to sell the property. How does this affect the transaction? If we don't have enough money to pay, the whole transaction comes to a standstill. So during the course of the escrow transaction, the escrow holder is going to request a written payoff from these lenders. Reviewing the figures in these payoff demands are no longer quick and easy. There are some strange items that appear. Why is there a negative amount? Why does the interest show paid to May 1 and we're only in March 1? Why is there an extra line amount for $20,000? And even more confusing, why is there a second mortgage to pay off? These payoff figures are sent to the client together with an estimated closing statement for their review and approval. And this is when issues come up. Are the unpaid amounts reflected correctly? Will there be sufficient funds to pay, or will the client have to bring in out-of-pocket money? Or how much money will they end up with if they are actually selling the property? For instance, the original monthly payment was $2,000. Under the forbearance plan, it was reduced to $1,000. Where does the rest of the $1,000 go? It becomes a separate line item accumulated each month. And in a year, that's going to be $12,000 added on to your principal balance. It was deferred, and now the time has come to pay the piper. In fact, some FHA loans under forbearance might just record a second lien for the unpaid amount against the property. So here are my escrow tips on forbearance. As a borrower, be aware of what you have negotiated with the lender and how it could affect the end figure of your loan. Find out upfront if there are any restrictions to your refinancing in the future. Number 2, let your escrow officer know in the beginning that you have worked out a forbearance, and ask the payoff figures to be obtained early in the transaction, because it takes time for a lender to work out the final figures and get them out to your escrow officer. Number 3, ask your escrow officer to review the preliminary report, the preliminary title search report, to catch any odd items. And number 4, make sure that you review the figures and the estimated closing statement right away in advance so that you can make calculated decisions. Don't wait until the last minute. Due to the pandemic, forbearance is now a fact of life. If you have questions regarding your mortgage, talk to your mortgage servicer. Ask the right person the right question, and you will get the right answer. Hope you found the session informative. This is Juliana too, and thank you for picking up this escrow tip from my Think Escrow channel.